All right, welcome back to the Odd Couple, Chris and Rob, and we are joined by this is a tremendous guest to have here on Radio Row
Hall
for
of
the Super
Famer.
Bowl. Yes, one of the best running backs to ever do it. Now an NFL Network analyst, and your second act is becoming great as well as your first act. So that's really that's wonderful. But LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, I forgot to mention the name. I'm nervous. He's one of my favorites.
Just calm down, Chris, all right? Like a schoolgirl. Calm
LT,
down.
I want to say this. To me today, there still is nothing better in the NFL than seeing a great run. A 60-yarder, a 50-yarder, 75-yarder, whatever it may be, from the running back. And I feel like, and everybody is clear, they've diminished the role of the running back.
They don't want to pay those guys.
Right. You would get it 20, 25 games, and that wasn't carries a game. That wasn't unusual. Now, that's like unheard of, except what we just saw with Derrick Henry. How do you feel about that being a guy that was a great running back and what you see from the position today?
Well, it's certainly disheartening, to say the least, that the position – the value of the position has gone down. And I really think, Chris, we need to rethink about the running back position contractually, right? So quit thinking about signing 4- and 5-year deals for runners. Runners 2 and 3 years, and then you redo a contract. Because if you are going to get 8 years from a running back, why not get 2 good contracts out of them, but pay them accordingly?
Because the system's broke, right?
The system is broken.
It's broke when it comes to a running back. They get to use up your best 5 years, and then they don't want to pay you, and that's not fair. That's why Le'Veon Bell did what he did
and
with
Ezekiel Elliott,
the Steelers.
But see, and runners, great runners, come in right away and have an impact. Right away from day one, right?
Right.
When I first got to the Chargers, day one, Norv Turner said, "You the man. I'm going to give it to you 300 times. You better get ready." Like from right out the draft, and so that's something that – and even at that time, I outperformed my contract. My rookie contract. You see what I'm saying? So why not redesign, the running back market to say, okay.
So in 2 or 3 years, you should have been able to re-up.
And if the guy is good, then he gets another deal. And if he's not, then you can move on.
Absolutely.
But you're not penalizing him for those first couple of years when he's outperforming his contract.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Chargers, things are changing. Phillip Rivers, they've already said that they're going to part ways and they're going to do something different. Your thoughts on the Chargers moving on from Phillip Rivers?
Well, Phillip has been, we all know, a really good quarterback, a great quarterback, I should say. All the things that you want in a franchise quarterback, all the intangibles, the tangible things that we can see, he has them. Leadership ability, all those things. Phillip has been, he's been a great Charger for a long time and certainly will go down as one of the all-time great Chargers. But also, I mean, you can say, him and Dan Fouts, are the greatest quarterbacks, to ever play for the Chargers. So, my hat's off to him, because, Phillip, he did it the right way. The other thing is, I don't want to tell the man what to do, but I would love to see him just play his entire career with the Chargers.
So retire.
But basically he'd have to retire because the Chargers have already said, right?
I know. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I know the Super Bowl thing is out there, but when you think about what teams are out there that you're going to be able to possibly get to a Super Bowl with, that's going to bring you in.
Right.
We've heard Tampa Bay, okay, Tampa Bay, are they ready for a run? Are they running for – look who's in their own division. We're talking about the Saints.
Right.
So – I don't know, man. Phillip has to make that decision, but my hat's off to him. He's been a great teammate. He was a great player for us for a long time.
We argue all the time about quarterbacks and their careers, and I'm not asking you to pick a guy because Phillip was your guy. But we always talk about Eli Manning, who could have been a Charger, right? Eli Manning, not having the greatest regular seasons, but 2 Super Bowls where they beat the Patriots compared to Phillip Rivers, who was – solid all 15 years or whatever during the regular season.
I know
what I'm saying. Where he's going, right?
You already know.
He's the president of Eli Manning fan club.
Because I'm just saying, like, fans, you would take 2 Super Bowls over.
Absolutely.
Am I right? The Super Bowls count that big?
Oh, no question about it. Especially, the quarterback position who has the ball in their hands every play. And, Eli the 2 Super Bowl rings mean something. In New York, they mean something.
And against Tom Brady and the Patriots, both of them, right?
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate that, we drafted him, and he didn't
want
want
to
to come play.
right?
He didn't want to come play with us. I think maybe I would have had a couple of Super Bowl rings.
Now, we're talking about Phillip Rivers. We're with LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Fame running back. I heard, and we've all heard it, that he was one of the biggest trash talkers in the NFL. Tell us some of the experiences, some of the stories you remember. Because he was a good family man, man of faith. He wasn't cursing out there, right? So what was his trash talk like?
That's what was so weird. When we would hear him going at guys, I would wait for the cuss word. Because at some point you're going to get riled up. You're going to get riled up and you're going to say something. And he would be like, dadgummit. You'd be like, what?
Like what? Right.
Dadgummit. Like, man, say the word. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think we all came to respect, his type of trash talk. And you know what? It wasn't less effective because he got those defensive guys riled up. I remember the great Denver defenses with Al Wilson, John Lynch was on those teams, and Phillip would give it to them, and they would be dumbfounded, like they couldn't say anything back at times because he was carving them up too and talking trash to them. So that was always fun.
And now, like, the big rumor out there is that potentially Tom Brady could wind up with the Chargers. Like, they're looking for – they got – running backs, they got wide receivers, they got a defense. Tom Brady's looking for a new home. It looks like he's going to part ways from New England. And obviously the new stadium is opening for the Chargers, and they need to sell tickets. What could you see that scenario? Is that far-fetched?
I mean, we'll see what happens. And I'll say this. So, yes, for all the people out there watching, I am an analyst.
Okay.
But I'm also on the other side of working for the Chargers, too.
I got it.
So I have to be careful in what I say about this situation. Right. But with that said, hey, there's a lot of options out there for the Chargers. We know that. So a young kid possibly getting drafted in the top 10. We got the 6th pick.
So there's a chance there.
There's a chance there. So, I think the future still lives bright, whatever happens. With the Chargers.
I got to ask you this. We've talked about all these quarterbacks, and most of them, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, you see these guys with their families. These guys aren't making brash comments. Phillip did on the field, but not, publicly and stuff. And I know there might be a few outliers here and there. But at that position, the quarterback, is it really important for that guy to seem to be more stable, more steady in his life, a family man, maybe? You know what I mean? Like other receivers, sometimes running back, you see these guys with these big personalities and diva-like qualities. Yeah. At the quarterback position, can a guy be like that, like a diva?
Are you talking about Baker Mayfield?
Well, I'm just meaning, do you have to be more of a steady guy in your life as a quarterback?
Well, the way your quarterback is, directly or indirectly, it rubs off on the rest of the organization. It permeates through the locker room, what your quarterback does, the work he puts into it, and guys are watching it. And from the time you're in Little League, you always taught to look at the quarterback.
Right.
The quarterback sets the example, right? So if you have a guy in the locker room that's, is brass and, kind of loosey-goosey, hanging out, always saying stuff, loose lip, you know what I mean? It does permeate throughout the locker room. And then when things happen, when things go bad, then this guy start to be like, man, this dude, you can't even back up what you're talking about.
You're talking all that, right.
It's a negative impact on guys. So I would rather have my quarterback cool and collected, guys that I've been around, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. That's who I know.
That's the great LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the best to ever do it, period. All you young cats, go to YouTube.
Yes.
Google, as they say, Google it. And you're going to see some highlights. What's happening, y'all? It's Chris Broussard.
I'm Rob Parker.
And we are
The Odd Couple. Check us out as often as you can on YouTube.
And always remember, I'm Oscar, and he's Felix.
Oh, man, are you serious?